Hello, pre-algebra students. This is Mr. Kraft coming from my house. I want to try to clarify some of the things on the last material we've been working on, especially the quiz. It looks like all of you have got the quizzes turned back in by now. So I was having a couple questions, particularly about a couple of the problems there. So let me discuss some general things. Okay. First of all, if you have something like, this is not one of the specific problems, I'm just making it up. Okay, the first question is simplification, or simplifying an algebraic expression. Algebraic expression is a very important concept here. This is not an equation. An equation always has it equal to something, which means you have an equal sign. There is no equal sign here, so it's not equal to anything, so that means it's not an equation. So that tells you you are not going to end up with x equals something. You can never figure out what x is just from an expression. You have to have an equation. All you can do with an equation is all you can do with an algebraic expression is to simplify it. So the first thing you have to do is you get rid of your distributive property. This negative in front of the parentheses is basically the same thing as if you had a 1. So it's like negative 1 times 2x, which would be negative 2x. Negative 1 times negative 2. 1 times 2 is 2, and a negative times a negative is always a positive. It might not be a bad idea if you still are not sure about negative and positive numbers like this to go back and review those. I will find the chapter for that, and I'll upload that to the Google Classroom site if you want to do that. Okay, here, 6 times x is 6x, and 6 times 5 is 30. In each case, you multiply what's outside by every single thing inside. Then, you collect your like terms. 15 is a number. There's no variables. So I ignore this. 15 plus 2. 15 plus 2 is 17. Ignore the x's. 17 plus 30, it's 47. So that gives me 47. I now have all my numbers collected. Negative 2x and 6x. Now, if you need to write this over to the side, it's just subtraction or adding unlike signs, which means the same thing. But you do have to put the plus in front of this. So 47 plus 4x is the answer. That's what you get when you simplify. All right. Now, when you are doing actual equations, if you had 15y plus 6 minus 2, well, I'll make this come out even, minus maybe 3y equals, I don't know, 54, something like that. First thing I do is I get my like terms together. The way I say this in class, and you've heard me say this before, is you have to simplify, which means like terms together. Then you do the addition, and that's the same thing as subtraction, because adding a negative number means subtraction. And then multiplication, which is the same thing as division, because multiplying by a fraction is the same thing as division. So S in SAM, 15y minus 3y is 12y. You cannot add your 12y to your 6 because unlike terms, apples and oranges can't put them together. So I've done my S in SAM. Add. I want to get the y by itself. The 6 is added to it, so I subtract from each side. That cancels out, and that gives me 12y. 54 minus 6 is 48. We've done the A part of SAM. Last, we do division. 12y, and this is where students sometimes do get confused or they forget. When you write two things next to each other, that means multiplication. We don't put the dot. We certainly don't put the normal sign, this, for multiplication. We don't do that because that would look like the variable x. Don't want to go there. So 12 times y is what that means. To get rid of the 12, you do the opposite. The 12 is times y. The opposite is division. So you divide both sides by 12. So y equals 4. That's your answer. That's how that works in general. Okay. Question number 4. There were several people that had some trouble with that. So let's look at that specifically. 6y plus 2 minus 8y equals 3 minus 2y minus 10. Okay. SAM again. Simplify, add, multiply. Got to simplify on both sides this time. 6y minus 8y. You can come over here to the side if you wanted to. And since 8's a bigger number, I'm going to put 6 under it. Since they're different sides, you just take away, you subtract. The bigger one is negative, so that becomes negative. Negative 2y. 2 here is not affected. Y's and numbers, apples and oranges. Over on the right, 3 minus 10, which is the same thing as negative 10, plus a positive 3, which is negative 7. Once more, you take the sign of the larger number. Okay, 7 minus 2y. Okay, so this is a situation, and probably I'll go ahead and give everybody credit for it. I think we did talk about this in class, but it's been a couple weeks, so I will not take credit from anybody for this problem. Because what happens when you add the two y's to each side, because you want to get all the y's on one side and all the numbers on the other. That cancels out, and oops, you have 2 equals negative 7, which obviously is false. So, what does that mean? What that means is no answer exists for this equation. Now, when I say no answer exists, I don't mean 0, because 0 is an answer. I mean nothing even exists. This is the answer. The circle with a line through it is null set. So you could give that, or you could just write no. So the answer is that there is no answer, or the null set, if you want to put it that way. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is how to graph an inequality. If you had something like 7 minus 2x is greater than 11, solving it is not that hard. You do exactly the same thing you would for an equation. You subtract your SAM, simplify, add, multiply. There's no simplification here, so you just take that over. The one exception is that when you divide by a negative, you change the direction of the sign, so it changes direction. So that's your answer. X is less than negative 2. What I want to talk about, though, is how you write the answer for that on a graph. So we said x is less than negative 2. All right. When you have less than or greater than, that is equivalent to an open circle. You have less than, equal, greater than, equal. That means a darkened in circle. Why? This up here means you are strictly greater or strictly less, so the point itself doesn't count. So look here, x is less than -2. You're going to draw a graph. You're going to draw a line. Here's 0. -2 is back over here somewhere. And I don't need to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All I have to do is show the number I'm dealing with. And since it's negative to the left of 0, that's all I need to do. I'm going to change colors here so it's clear what I'm doing. This is less than. So less than means an open circle on the 2. Open circle means -2 is not included. You can get as close to it as you want, but you never can be on it. Then I draw an arrow that goes in the same direction as my inequality sign, and that's it. Simple as that. That's all I do. So let me pick another example. Suppose I worked out an inequality. I got x is greater than or equal to 7. Once more, draw a graph. Put a 7 over here somewhere, doesn't matter where. Do blue this time, just to be different. This time, it is greater than or equal to. So that tells me I do a solid circle, solid dot. Because I can actually step on 7 to use a metaphor. I can be on 7. I go the direction that my inequality sign indicates. That's it. That's all I do. So to give one more example of how I would do this. So look at this. I've got 2 times x minus 5 is greater than or equal to -6. Okay. This pulls out the whole 9 yards. SAM. Simplify, add, multiply. Then you have to graph. So, SAM. Got to do simplify first. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times -5 is -10. Okay, we're good. Add. Got to get rid of that 10. Add 10 because it's a negative. Negative, positive cancel out. Since there's no dividing by negatives or anything, my inequality sign remains the same. So I get 2x is greater than or equal to 4. Last step, multiply. 2x means 2 times x. The opposite of multiplication is division, which we always show with the fraction sign. 2's cancel out, so we get x is greater than or equal to 2. Graph. Well, we draw the graph. Make that a little bit nicer looking. We draw the graph. And we put the 0, and then we put the 2 in the arbitrary place we want. Let's do green this time, just to be different. Since it has an or equal to, we make a dark dot. Once more, same direction we point the arrow at, which is to the right, and then we're done. That is all. I hope that clarifies some of the things that some of you all may have been struggling with or unsure about. If there are any other specific things you would like me to make videos about or discuss, certainly contact me and I will be more than glad to deal with them. Thank you, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.